my name's Katie Robertson, and I want to officially welcome you to the Anchor at Home. If you're in a watch party with family and friends or you're on your own, we are so glad you're tuning in tonight. We are filming here in Gig Harbor, Washington, in my home, in the living room, right where it all began. And I'd like to share just the briefest history of how the Anchor started. It was shortly after the biggest storm hit my life, and that was when my oldest daughter, Karina, passed away after a 5-year battle with leukemia. And it was during that time that our faith in Jesus held so strong, like an anchor, for real. And we saw Jesus to be real for myself, my daughter, and my family through the journey and in this aftermath, that I just developed a passion, a great burning passion to want to share with everyone how real Jesus is. So I gathered some friends right here in the living room, and we dreamed and prayed up, starting this gathering for women of all ages. And we came up with this great name, The Anchor. And then the best news ever is I found the Bible verse that I'd never remembered reading in Hebrews 6:19, the anchor verse. We have this hope, Jesus, as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. And that just was the most perfect verse ever for the Anchor. So we were so excited. And now the Anchor is in 13 cities in the Northwest and growing, and we are dreaming big. And I was looking back on this last year, and I was thinking, last year at this very time, everything was being shut down because of COVID-19. And I was getting very discouraged. What are we going to do with the Anchor? How are we going to gather together in person? And then I've got to say, I cannot believe what's happened, more than I could ask or imagine. I'm going to call it the pandemic pivot. We decided we're going to bring the Anchor to you in your home. And that is how we launched the Anchor at Home. And we've been broadcasting it and bringing it to you the first Thursday of every month for this year. And we are growing so big. It is amazing. And just yesterday, I got some official statistics that are awesome. We found out that we have nearly 4,000 views, YouTube views. And that, ready for this one, we are in 50 states. And we're so excited. We have lots of views in more than in some states than in others, and our dream is that it would just pick up and grow. And we are dreaming big to take this to every city and to cities and countries all over the world. At this time, we want to just say our prayer and purpose for the Anchor is to bring encouragement. We want everyone to be encouraged, and I love Google searching words, and just recently I looked at this word again, encourage. The word encourage means to bring hope, literally to bring hope. And that's what the Anchor is all about, bringing the hope that we have in Jesus as an anchor. And the next cool thing about encourage is it means to be filled with courage. We want to bring you hope and fill you with courage by knowing Jesus as your anchor. He brings strength and courage that we can face anything this life brings when he's our anchor. So tonight, that's our hope and prayer for you, that you'd be encouraged, that you'd be anchored in your faith. Wherever you are on that journey, you might be new to this and just hearing about Jesus for the first time, or you've been walking with Jesus for a long time. Our prayer is that you'd be anchored a little bit more and that you'd be anchored in friendships. And we can't wait until we can all be together in person, and we will just be excited to be together. So at this time in the Anchor, we're starting with some music like we do. And tonight we're excited to have a special guest all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. She's an up-and-coming country music star, and her name's Emily Daniels. And there's a couple of fun facts about Emily. One is her voice coach is the voice coach for Carrie Underwood and Faith Hill. Pretty cool. And she also has 72,000 streams on Spotify already. And I think this is a really fun fact. Her signature color is red. So whenever you see Emily, she's got something red on or something red in the background, and it's pretty fun. So we're excited to hear from her tonight. She's got a great song for us. Thanks, Emily.
Hey, Anchor at Home. My name is Emily Daniels, and I'm a country singer-songwriter in Nashville. I just wanted to thank Katie and Kathleen for having me on this. I'm really honored to be here and get to sing for y'all today. My first song is actually going to be an original country song they wanted me to throw in before we start worship. But this one I actually wrote last week with two of my friends, Kelly Seidel and SJ McDonald, and it's called Dress Up. And it's definitely something I deal with a lot, but just feeling the need to dress up for people, whether your friends, your family, the Lord, whoever that might be, and just be your best self and try to be perfect. I think with social media and everything, we feel like we have to have this whole curated image, but just knowing that at the end of the day, we can just come to the Lord as ourselves in our sweats, no makeup, and that's enough. So this one's called Dress Up.
Make sure that every curl's in place before I step out of this house. I check the mirror one more time, 'cause every detail's gotta be right, so you don't figure out that I've been playing dress up, trying to impress ya. 'Cause I wanna be the girl that you want, even if that's someone I'm not. If I show you that I mess up, would you stay or would you wanna run? That's a risk that I can't take, and at the moment I ain't brave. So I've been playing dress up. No, you won't meet my angry side. I don't break down and I don't cry. At least that's what you believe. 'Cause who doesn't love a girl with grace? Who doesn't want a smiling face? I've learned to be what everyone needs. So I've been playing dress up, trying to impress ya. 'Cause I wanna be the girl that you want, even if that's someone I'm not. If I show you that I mess up, would you stay or would you wanna run? That's a risk that I can't take, and at the moment I ain't brave. So I've been playing dress up. I've been playing dress up. Turns out perfect ain't so perfect. I don't need you to know I'm worth it, and I'm just hurting myself, caring what you think. So I'm putting this dress up, 'cause I'm tired of playing dress up. No, I ain't playing dress up, trying to impress ya. I don't need to be the girl that you want, 'cause that's someone I'm not. Gonna show you that I mess up, 'cause I'm only human. That's the risk I'm gonna take, 'cause I'm finally feeling brave. So I ain't playing dress up. No, I ain't playing dress up. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, you're healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, Emily, for sharing your gift of music. That was great. Now, at this time, we have one of my favorite times of the Anchor. It's called the Anchor Moment, and we get to hear from someone about a little bit about their life and their faith journey and a time in their life that they've had an anchoring moment where they've seen Jesus to be real, their faith's been grounded. And tonight, we are so excited. We get to hear from Carolyn Kach, and Carolyn is a very special guest. She actually works for the Anchor, and she is our behind-the-scenes web designer. She has made it look beautiful. And we have such a kindred connection on Anchors. She has grown up in the Navy and as a little girl has always loved anchors. And she actually has a paper company called the Anchored Paper Company. And for some of you that you might already know, I have a book I've written with the title Anchored. So we connected with our anchor theme and we're so excited that she's on board. And she has taken our website and made it beautiful, just over the top. So tonight we get to hear from her. She actually lives in Bothell with her husband and has two darling children, a little girl and boy. And thank you, Carolyn, for sharing with us tonight.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Kach. I am a designer, illustrator, and mom, and I currently own a design and stationery business. I live in Bothell with my husband Nate, our 5-year-old Lily, our 2-year-old Bennett, and our brand new puppy Odie. I graduated from UW with my BFA in visual communication design. I worked in the advertising and design industry until I had my daughter in 2015. I decided I wanted to stay home with my children, but I can't sit still for long, so Anchored Paper Co. was born. A fun fact about me is that one of my clients is the Anchor. I am in charge of the branding, website, emails, printed material, etc. I feel so grateful for Katie for giving me this opportunity, allowing to use the gift that God has given me to further his mission. A little bit about my faith journey. I was raised Catholic and attended Catholic school my entire childhood. So I had a very intellectual understanding of God and the Bible. It wasn't until my college boyfriend invited me to go to church with him several times, to be exact, that I finally understood what it meant to have a relationship with Jesus. That boyfriend is now my husband, and I fully credit him with deepening my faith in God. Now, about my anchor moment. Do you ever feel like the big God moments will be some fantastic event, like booming thunder followed by, God's deep voice, and then, the clouds opening up and rays shining through? I don't know why, but I've always envisioned that my big growth moments with God would look like that. The funny thing is, my most recent and biggest anchor moment that I'm going to talk about today, it was the most ordinary thing. If you know me, you know I am a planner in all things. Preparing for my daughter's birth, I had this color-coded, tabbed binder full of icons, yes, this, no, that, and after my water broke, she was born in 45 minutes. So we didn't even open the binder. If you know our realtor, Kelly Roberts, she attends the Anchor. She can attest to my embarrassing spreadsheets about house searching. Again, color-coded icons, you name it. I love researching what's coming, no matter how unnecessary it is. I feel like if I know all that I possibly can before doing something and have really analyzed it, that I can control the situation and my decisions that follow. Lily's birth is a great example of my control going completely out the window and me not caring. Luckily, she was born perfectly happy, healthy, baby, sweet little girl, and I just didn't care that I had lost my control. It's a different scenario when I lose my control and feel like there's a negative outcome. For instance, I had an awful injury my senior year of high school that forced me to go to UW instead of the college I had a cheerleading scholarship to. I've always been able to tell myself, okay, that happened and it wasn't great, but everything happens for a reason and God has a plan. Then I would move on to researching and color coding and tabbing this new path. But there's another loss of control that is neither the good kind nor the bad kind. It's the unknown. And it's absolutely terrifying. Just like all of you when COVID hit, my world was suddenly upside down. Lily's preschool and dance were canceled. I'd suddenly lost my work time during Bennett's nap. My husband moved into my office and we were now sharing, and I couldn't just hop over to the Tri-Cities to hang out with my parents. We were told schools would be closed for 2 whole weeks. And I remember thinking, how will I deal without my coffee play dates for 2 whole weeks? I look back now and laugh at how hard 2 weeks seemed. All of us women deserve a long spa vacation once COVID is over for how we've persevered this last year. But back to COVID. I felt paralyzed because there was no research I could do, and there was no data for me to analyze. There was no making it through COVID binder to make in color code. I clung to anything that would make me feel like I was in control. And this is all multiplied by the fact that I've been treated for anxiety for the past 13 years. It was the weirdest thing to be paralyzed by the unknown and fear, but then I'm also spinning out of control because I have no control. There was this moment in April when we all began to realize this wasn't just 2 weeks. And I read some new and awful statistic on COVID, and it led to one of my lifelong main fears. Losing someone I love in a tragic way. I felt that paralyzing, spinning feeling, and the only thing I could think to do was to run upstairs and fall to my knees. Now, I'm the type of person who keeps my spirituality pretty close to my heart, and I don't often outwardly profess my faith. I prefer to pray while sitting in a cozy, comfy chair rather than, kneel by my bedside and fold my hands. I always have my husband do our dinner graces. He's really good at them. But in this moment, I just didn't even have the power to stand. I literally dropped to my knees and just started praying. I prayed and prayed until, of course, one of the little ones busted in and snapped me out of this intimate moment with Jesus. But nevertheless, I was moved. I remember squeezing my eyes shut and asking God, how do I get control of this when everything is unknown? How do I keep all the people I love safe from this virus? How can I be wiser about this situation? How do I know what the right thing to do when so much hangs in the balance? It wasn't until the next day that I got my answer loud and clear. My mom and I are incredibly close, and I'm so grateful that she's also a believer because she speaks truth into me without even realizing it. I recounted my story to her, and I'll never forget her words. She said, "Carolyn, you are human, and that means you are not in control. God is. You aren't supposed to know everything. You're making the absolute best and most educated decisions you can for your family, and that is all you can do because you are human." Of course, tears are streaming down my face. Lily's asking what Grammy said to make me cry and was she being mean? But I stood there and had this life-changing realization that the only person with complete control in this world is God, not me. Try as I might, the only one who knows the path ahead is Jesus. So because I'm human, I still find myself grasping for control a lot. I am still researching and looking at all the data to make the best decisions for my family. We did plan to pour a lot of our need for control into our puppy, but a puppy might not have been the best choice for that. I also find now that I'm finally giving myself some grace for not having it together all of the time. What a freeing feeling that God has granted us. He is the number one planner, and we just have to follow his lead. I'll leave you with verse 3 from Psalm 115. Our God is in the heavens. He does all that he pleases, and he is pleased when he is loving his children. God is in control of all things in heaven and on earth, and he makes sure to do what is best for us. So thank you for letting me share this story with you, and I can't wait to hear from Christine coming up.
Thank you, Carolyn, for those encouraging words. We can all resonate with that anxiety theme, especially during a pandemic. Thank you for the reminder and promise that Jesus is our anchor and always in control. Now, this time at the Anchor, I have the privilege of introducing our speaker for the evening. Her name is Christine Soule, and I met her a few years ago at an event and found that we share a very similar passion, and that is sharing how real Jesus is. Christine is an author and founder and CEO of Providence Heights, a nonprofit that helps women and children in need. Tonight, we are so thankful we get to hear her powerful story of how the Lord has worked in her life. Christine lives in Bellevue with her husband and has 5 children and 3 grandchildren. Thank you so much, Christine, for sharing tonight.
Hello, I am so honored to be here, and Katie is such a precious friend, and wow, what a testimony and beautiful life and example that she's lived for others. And so I'm just really thrilled that I could be here and just share my heart with you. And I know that she loves knowing people's stories and testimonies, and what a blessing that is. Aren't we all encouraged by someone's story? So for me, I have a unique story. I grew up in Utah. I have four stepdads, and my dad was married 8 times. And so it was just a unique background. I had my second dad. He ended up in jail for some really sad circumstances, caused a great spirit of fear in my life. And then my third dad, he was the one who he adopted me. It was the place where I felt like I really found a family, and I found my place. And one day I wasn't feeling well, and I went downstairs to go take some medicine, and I discovered that my father was having an affair with my sister. So that was pretty traumatizing for me. I was the one who actually had to go and share that information with my mom. And as a result, they ended up draining the bank account. They ran off and got married. So yeah, by law, my sister became my stepmom and my dad became my brother-in-law. So that led to a little bit of dysfunction in my life. And it was a season where I felt really lost and didn't really know even what normal was. And I found myself feeling very depressed and not knowing what to do. And one day I actually decided, it'd be easier just to be dead. So I had planned my suicide, planned everything that I was going to do. And right before I did that, I thought, I'm going to take a walk. I'm just going to say goodbye to the world. And as I did that, I ran into a boy. His name was Chad. And he was actually riding a horse. And he just stopped and he talked to me. And I felt value. And I felt like I mattered in that moment. And it was interesting. As I went to go walk away, he said, "Hey, Christine." And I turned around and I said, "What?" And he goes, "I'll see you tomorrow." And I turned and looked at him and I said, "I will see you tomorrow." Because I felt like I had a reason to live in that moment. So I want to say one thing: never underestimate the power of your words, the impact that you can have on a person's life. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And that boy spoke life to me. And it saved my life as a result. And then, I kind of went to school after that, still feeling like, what is normal? How do I live life? I'm so lost. And, I just all of a sudden found myself just beelining for this girl named Sherry Smith. And I said, "Hey, can I stay at your house for a week?" And she's like, "I can ask." Now, mind you, I am not the kind of girl you'd want to take home to mama. But you know what? They let me stay at their house for a week. And what I experienced there was love and compassion and kindness. And I just absorbed for an entire week what joy meant. And it was powerful for me. And I had left there and I went back to the same old stuff that I was doing. I actually started doing drugs at the age of 10. At this point, I was about 15, 16 years old. And jumped into the drugs, and I ended up pregnant at 17. And at 19, I had identical twin boys. And, at that point in my life, I was a meth addict, and I was abused. I was being trafficked, and I was a woman that was filled with rage. I hated men. I actually started living a gay lifestyle. And I just felt so broken inside. And there was actually a moment in that time where I had jumped into a friend's car, and she had said to me, I had jumped into her car, and she says, kind of what's going on, the casualties, and I'm kind of listening into the background. I'm like, what is that? And it was a tape. Tells you how long ago this was, but it was a tape in the car. And she goes, "Oh, that's just my pastor." And she ejected the tape. And I'm like, "Your pastor's talking on a tape?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, sometimes they just record the sermons." And I'm like, I'm confused. And so, I kept digging, I kept asking, I kept seeking. And she just kept dropping the subject. And that woman knew how broken I was. She knew what my circumstance was. And she knew that I was being trafficked. And she was a good friend. She was actually a really healthy person in my life. She would babysit my kids, and she was a neighbor. But I think she thought I was too far gone for her to really be able to reach. I don't really understand why she didn't really pursue that conversation when I felt like I really swung the door wide open for her, and she just didn't say a thing. Well, right after that, I was actually pretty brutally raped, and it was pretty horrific. And, some time had gone by, about 2-3 months, and it was really funny because I actually would drive by at the strip club that I worked at, right next to it was this huge Benny Hinn crusade. And I'm like, what on earth is that? And I would keep driving by and just cars and cars and cars day after day. And I didn't think much of it, but I was definitely very curious. I remember that. And I would go to work. And, it was not long after that moment where I fell to my knees and I cried out to God. And I'm like, God, if you are real, just take my life. It's yours. And it's like in that moment, I just so tangibly felt the power and presence of God. Like I felt him. And I turned and I threw all the drugs and alcohol away. And I gave him a list. I'll never do I'll never do these things again if you can do something in my life. And where I should have had a heart attack from stopping taking meth so quickly and abruptly, but instead I never had a desire, temptation, or withdrawal. I was completely and totally set free. And it kind of set me on a journey at this point because I needed to seek the Lord and discover who he was and how he could save me so miraculously. So off I went to the church with my 3 kids in my mini skirt and my shortcut shirt. And needless to say, I totally did not fit in. And I was quite judged and I felt very insecure. But you know what? I was really desperate to discover Jesus, that I really didn't care. And that would be another point that I would really want to point out to you guys is if someone comes to church and they might not look like you, they might not act like you, or I should say anywhere for that matter, if someone is seeking God, please don't ever assume that they can't listen to what you have to say, that they're not ready to hear your story or the love of Jesus. That if they walk into a church, if they walk into your life, they're seeking. So be the hands and feet of Christ and share God's love, share your love, and let them know how much they matter. So that was a journey. It actually set me on where I ended up with no income. And so I started bouncing from house to house, couch to couch, and really not knowing how I was going to survive. And at age 21 is when I started to turn my life around. And I had fanned out all my bills. And I thought, gosh, I can't even put a dent into any of this. I don't even know where to begin. And I sat there in that moment and I thought, God really helped me before. Maybe he can help me here too. And I trusted him. And I had $40 to my name. And I wrote a check out to the only person that I knew that went to a Christian church. And I said, hey, can you just give this to your church? And he had no idea. It was the last penny to my name with no way to provide for my babies. And, it was that man that I've been married to for almost 24 years now. And he is the love of my life. And, it set me on this interesting trajectory of my life because I went from extreme poverty to marrying a man who happened to have owned a software company. So I had the opportunity to live a life of generosity and compassion, and I had the ability now to help people. So I really fought to kind of help people who were going through difficulties similar to mine. And so, about 3 years ago, I was driving down the road, and I just felt like God was nudging me saying, go turn the car around, go talk to that woman. And I'm like, what woman? And so I see a woman that she was homeless sitting on the side of the road. And so I turned my car around and I pulled in and I just asked her to tell me her story. And, we talked for about 2 hours and she shared things that were actually identical to my story. Like she had a child when she was 18 and then had identical twin boys when she was 20. And, the story was verbatim almost. And it really kind of freaked me out. So I got into the car and I'm like, Lord, what is it that caused me to run to Jesus and she ran to heroin, and our stories became so very different. And you know, while I was just kind of ugly crying, God so graciously reminded me of this Bible study I taught 2 days prior, where I was literally pointing my finger at people saying, you go be the difference you want to see in the world. Quit whining about it. Quit complaining about it. You go be the difference. And I sat in the car going, whoa, hang on. You want me to do something about that? And I just really felt like what he wanted me to do was share the love of Jesus, give them an opportunity, training and education, and just to truly believe in them as a unique and talented and beautiful individual. So that launched me into something that we call Providence Heights. Now that's a nonprofit organization that we have just established. For 3 years, we've been working on it. And January 4th, we got the keys to the Red Lion Hotel in Bellevue, Washington. And on March 1st, we began to house our very first ladies. We have 6 ladies and 4 kids. And next month, in fact, every month after that, we're looking to have an additional 8 women coming in, plus their kids, so that we can get to a capacity of 88 women plus children. And then the next year, we can go to 138 women plus kids. And what makes us very unique is that we are a training facility. Now, it's residential, but we're not really interested in the residential part. It's a place for the women to breathe, to regroup, to save their money. And that's awesome. It's beautiful. We provide food, counseling. We have a life coach. All that's wonderful. But really, we are an entrepreneurial training program where we are launching women into their destinies. And that's really our passion, is that we are creating opportunities. So we are having a nonprofit organization that we've started called Providence Collective. And Providence Collective will fund the vision of Providence Heights so that we are a sustainable organization. And Providence Collective will have a beauty line, a clothing line, and a coffee product to start with, and then we'll bring more in as we go. But the women, they'll actually be able to build the website. They're working on the logos right now. They're creating product name. They're creating the products, figuring out distribution. They're doing research. It is so exciting to see these women. They are owning it. This is something that they feel so confident in. And you're seeing the women, I think I have an interest in this. I want to do that. I have one girl who came in and just wanted to do sonograms. She's a woman who was divorced, and she had actually been going to school to do sonograms, but when she got married, she kind of dropped out of school, didn't pursue a career. She raised her family. And then her kids were all grown and she ended up divorced. And the rug was pulled out from under her. And she thought, gosh, I'm in trouble now. And she's working at a grocery store. And she thought, you know what, I want to do sonograms. Go back to school, start my career again. And as we were talking with our culinary chef, she says, I like to do salad dressing. Our chef goes, that's a business. So now we're going to pursue a career for her selling salad dressing. And so we're going to help her with the labeling, the distribution, all of that. And so this is the type of woman that we're looking for. And this is really how we operate. And it's been a beautiful season. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's been life-changing for all of us. I've been so blessed. So that's really where our journey is at. And I have loved every moment. It has been a struggle and a challenge. And it's been beautiful. And what I really want to talk to you guys about is really that journey of struggle as a child, circumstances that I didn't sign up for, and a lot of choices that I did sign up for. And I've written a book. It's called Broken and Beautiful. And that book really illustrates something that I have been drawn to. It's called kintsugi art. And kintsugi art is an art form where a beautiful piece of pottery has been broken and shattered to pieces, and the artist actually mends it back with gold. And the concept behind that is that it's the very broken pieces in your life that if you allow God to infuse Him into all those areas of brokenness, that really it's the broken parts of your life that have the most beauty. That's what creates your uniqueness. That's what creates your gift. And that's the area that God can really use in you and through you. And so I just have two scriptures I want to share with you. One of them is just in the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And it talks about these men who stood for God. And as a result, they were thrown into a fiery furnace. And the interesting thing about that is when they had gazed inside, they saw that there were 4, not 3, because God was with them. And what I want to tell all of you is that even in the midst of the fire, God is with you. God is for you, and God stands beside you. And the thing that I think is so cool about this, that I think so many miss in that scripture, is that when they had gone out, they didn't even smell like smoke. That blew my mind when I read that. They didn't even smell like smoke. I don't need to smell like smoke. From my past, when I went through the fire, I don't have to carry any remnant of the pain that I've endured. And neither do you, friend. You can actually let go of that as well. You don't need to carry any remnant of the pain that you've experienced in your life. Whom the Son sets free is free indeed. So there's freedom in what you're going through. There's freedom in discovering who you are and how that can strengthen you. And the final scripture that I want to give to you is in Genesis 50:20. And it says, I'll say my translation at the beginning, it's what the enemy has done for evil, God will turn for good. And then it continues to say, because people go, well, you know what? God hasn't turned this for good in my life. But if you continue, it says, for the saving of many lives. So I want to challenge you that, when you've gone through pain, let that be used to save many people's lives. And you know what? If I had to go through all of that pain again in my life, I would sign up to do it again. Because today, I know that many people's lives are being affected as a result. So let those broken areas of your life be made into something beautiful. God bless you, and thank you. Thank you, Katie and Anchor, for having me. You guys are amazing.
Thank you, Christine, for those inspiring words tonight. That is such a beautiful story, how God can just bring new things out of the brokenness of our lives. Thank you so much. Now, this time of the Anchor, I'm going to have our raffle reminder. For those of you who haven't already signed up, we are raffling off the white glassy baby tonight. It actually is named Hope, and it comes packaged in the box with our little anchors, or the anchor verse, Hebrews 6:19. And you can go on our website, theanchorgathering.com, and sign your name in there, and you have until 9 o'clock tonight, and tomorrow morning we will announce the winners. So make sure you get your name in for that. And then another couple things, we'd love for you to help get the word out of the Anchor and the hope that we have in Jesus. If you could like us, share us on your Instagram and Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share this link. Think of some family and friends that would need to hear some hopeful words, and send this link out to them. And also, you can go to our website if you're interested in starting an Anchor in your community. There's information there that you can connect with me, and we'll get back with you on how you can launch the Anchor in your community. Okay, everyone, I just want to conclude the Anchor tonight with one more thought. It's a really cool verse and fact that I've been pondering, and it's perfect going into Easter, and I thought it would be cool for all of us to think about this month. And it comes from John chapter 20, verse 18. Just one simple verse, and I thought I'd just give you, kind of set the stage. Jesus has just died on the cross. He's been in the tomb for 3 days and just risen from the dead. And the first person on the scene to see him alive, and this is the fun fact, is a woman, and her name is Mary Magdalene. And I just have been pondering how cool this is, that God had a plan and purpose for a woman to be the first one on the scene. In those days, women were not highly regarded. So for Mary Magdalene to be the one is a pretty cool thing. Women are great at sharing the news and great tellers. So what did Mary do? She was so excited she saw Jesus risen, she could hardly wait to go tell everyone. And this is where the verse comes in. It says this: Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, quote, "I have seen the Lord!" exclamation point. And she went on to tell them everything. That is what the anchor is all about. We've seen Jesus to be real, just like Mary Magdalene, just like Carolyn shared, Christine, myself, and many others through the anchor. We want to share the great news, and that news is that Jesus loves us so much. He is dying to love on us. He literally died for each one of us and is risen from the dead and wants that personal relationship with each one of us to be our anchor for today here on this stormy world and forever in eternity. That is the greatest news. So in Mary Magdalene fashion, let's go out there this Easter time and this month and always, and let's help share the great news that Jesus is our anchor. So until next time, well, first of all, happy Easter. And until next time, stay anchored, and we'll see you soon.